Cool, mate. So, welcome back to episode 5 of the Kick Back with Jack podcast. Today, I'm joined by George Kosmidis, hairdresser, business owner, jack of all trades. Welcome to the show, mate.
Thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
Awesome, mate. So, I guess we'll start off. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Obviously, first and foremost, you're a hairdresser. So, talk to me about how you got into that.
Well, I finished year 12 with not really an idea of what to do. I graduated in 2018, and I started looking around. I had an idea that I wanted to get into something creative. Never really had any family relatives that were hairdressers or barbers, so I just thought, you know what, might as well just try something different. I did a year-long course, an intensive barber course, instead of doing the 4 years apprenticeship. Took it a day at a time. Halfway through the course, I got hired by a barbershop. So I was doing both. And then, once I finished my course, I just took it full swing and got into full time.
That's awesome, man. And you said you did like a 1 year course as opposed to a 4. Like, surely that would be pretty intense trying to smash all that out in like a 1 year.
Yeah, so with the 4 years, you're spending 1 day at barber school and the rest you're working. So you get through your modules a lot, you're not really getting through too many every week. But what I did was, with the 10 months, you actually are at barber school 4 days a week and working 1 day. So it kind of flips it around, so you're able to get through all of your modules, all of your exams and quizzes and everything that they throw at you. And then, you just get it out of the way real quick. It's convenient.
Yeah, for sure. And you said like you went out of that, or like you got hired like halfway through that. Talk to me a little bit about, when you first went into the field, what was that like?
Definitely nerve-wracking, because instead of mannequins, you're working on real people. I've definitely messed up a few haircuts in my first 3 to 4 weeks, and tried not to get too disheartened. It was very fast-paced. I moved into a very busy shop, so I just kind of fast-tracked my errors, got all the errors out the way, all of the beginner stuff, and then it was good. It was a blessing in disguise.
And how does it work in those situations? Like, you get someone come in and what you say to them, look, I'm just learning here. If I screw up your hair, you're stuck with it. Like, how does that work?
Well, what they did was, when I got hired, because I was still at barber school, I was actually doing a reduced price sort of service. So my service list was different. So when they would sit in my chair, I'd have to notify them, look, I'm halfway through my course, or what stage I was at. And then I would have to be like, this is my service list. Are you comfortable with me cutting your hair? And then majority of the time they'd be really nice and they'd be like, yeah, of course, no worries. But some of them, they were like, no, actually, I'd want a qualified barber, so whatever.
Yeah.
But it was nerve-wracking having to ask that really, really, strong question at the beginning, because they might just be like, actually, no, I'm going to go sit down. That's embarrassing, so... But it was cool. Did
you ever have anyone like flip out on you, or was there any sort of awkward experiences early on?
Yeah, I think at the beginning I didn't really take it. I took it very serious, but I try to get into I'm going to be a good talker and think about the cool conversations that I'm going to have. So one time someone said, oh yeah, just a touch up or whatever. I wasn't listening because I was trying to be funny and whatever. And he had a mullet. He had a very, very committed mullet. He grew it out for a few years. And then I just went straight up the back and chopped it off. And he was he kind of pulled away and looked in the mirror and was like, oh, like, why did you do that? And that was the biggest, the biggest thing that ever happened to me at the beginning, in terms of a negative way. That was crapping my pants, that's for sure.
Brutal. And you mentioned as well, like you said, like talking to people is a big part of the gig. How do you go about that as a hairdresser? Like, when someone sits down, do you sort of gauge like, oh, is this person keen for a chat? Are they not keen for a chat? Like, how do you go about that?
It's usually the first 2 or 3 lines of every convo is like, okay, what are we doing today? And they'll say what they want. And then you say, oh, how's your day been? Or what are you getting up to? Or whatever. And depends on how they respond to those questions. You can kind of gauge if they want to commit to a convo or not. If you say, oh, how's your day been? They say, yeah, it was good, thank you. And that's it. You can kind of just step back and then ask questions about their haircut, or like really, really simple questions. But if they say, yeah, my day was good, I did this, etc. What about yourself? Kind of brings you into the convo, and you can actually bounce back, to and from each other. But yeah, you kind of gauge it from the first 2-3 lines of every convo.
No, that's good. And so you're working in this place. When do you decide, look, I want to get my own business?
Well, I was working for a chain for about 2 years, I would say. And towards the back end of it, I started working Friday and Saturday from home. So Monday to Thursday, I was in the shop. And then Friday and Saturday, I started cutting at home, but late 2019, early 2020, I reckon. And I did that for a couple of years. And then before, I think the end of 2021, around November, is when I was like, okay, I'm just going to take a step back and decide what I want to do. Found a place in Queenstown, South Australia. And then, yeah, it kind of went real quick. I just bought 3 chairs, mirrors, and some benches. And that was it. I was in a shop and it was kind of surreal. It happened so quick. It was just insane.
And how old were you at that point? Like, you would have been pretty early.
I was 20 years old. So
Wow.
I made a deal with myself when I started barber school that I wanted to own a shop at before I was 21. So I did it, and yeah, that was scraping the barrel in November, and I turned 21 in Feb. So yeah, scraping the bottom of the barrel there, but I got there.
So, opening up your own business, was there any, like when you first started, was there any sort of trepidation? Were you worried at all? Like, what were some of the concerns going into that?
Yeah, the first 3 to 6 months, because before that I was working obviously during the week, then Friday, Saturday at home. I would only really have a busy Friday, Saturday here in the shop because that's what my clients were used to, and it kind of, acclimatized to that because they're the only days that I was open. So I did Wednesday to Saturday, and my Wednesday, Thursday, I probably did about 2 or 3 haircuts a day. And sitting here, all day was kind of scary. I was thinking, oh, why did I do this? Oh, this is too early. I'm only 20, whatever. But then, yeah, the first 3 to 6 months, I was just trying to grind through it. And then I brought in a referral system. So if someone brings a friend, they get a discount and whatever. And that really helped out a lot and just gradually built it up. But then now I'm doing Tuesday to Saturday. So it was a hard road at the beginning, but it worked out in the end.
Yeah, and that sort of leads on nicely to my next question, which is, when you first start out, how do you start to build like a clientele base? Like, how do you get people to be like, George is the guy, he's who I want to see?
Yeah, it just comes down to honing your skills, I reckon, just being able to do every haircut possible to a certain level. You obviously have the ones that you can favor, like, skin fade or whatever, but being able to have that broad umbrella over all the haircuts, you can never turn anybody away, so gives you a better chance of that person being like, oh, I've got a really good haircut, I'm going to refer you. So, but the referral system, like I mentioned earlier, that helped out heaps because I would just give out all these business cards that would say, bring a friend and get 20% off each for your next service. And I'll just give a client about 5 cards and hope for the best. And a lot of my clients, because, they're friends or friends of friends, quite tight. So they would just be like, telling their friends to come in and having a good Instagram as well, because when they say, oh, look at this is the barber that I'm referring you to, you've got to have your portfolio pretty up to scratch, so then people can be like, okay, yeah, I can trust my friend and I can back it up with a photo, I've got proof. So when they come in, they know what to expect.
And yeah, that is an interesting point because like you have a very sort of clear aesthetic, like in your shop, in your Instagram, like everything is very sort of like has that nice style to it. How did you go about being like, all right, this is the style I want to set on, set on?
The barbershop that I worked in was very old, not old, but it had an old school style, very rustic, a lot of red brick and bright red timber and all that sort of stuff and floorboards. And the barbershops that I was seeing online that I was drawn to were ones from the UK, and they were very concrete floors, leather chairs, black leather chairs with silver, detailing on it, and just white walls and everything, just very plain and minimalistic. And that's just, something that I really was drawn to. So when I was trying to design this place, that's exactly what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm. And what do you enjoy so much about being a barber and being a hairdresser?
The people. I've got some really, really cool, interesting clients, and being in a profession where you're servicing people, seeing them get up from the chair and look in the mirror and get closer and and if they would mutter little comments and be like, oh wow, this is awesome, it's just so fulfilling, and it makes you want to like really care about your craft, because no client is I would never view a client as, oh, that's, you know, a skin fade $45 or anything like that. It's more like that person's got a life. They're going to have that haircut for the next 2 weeks. I want to make that 2 weeks the best I can. Looking in the mirror and going out, you know, for drinks or for dinner, you don't want them to look in the mirror and be like, oh, it's not a good haircut, or like, oh, I can't believe I let him do this to me, or whatever. Yeah. So the people, I would say, yeah, and being creative as well.
And I guess you're
best.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess as well, you're in a kind of unique sphere in the sense that, like, people walking around is almost your resume, right? Like, you know, if there's a bunch of people walking around with, like, a great haircut, they're like, that's George's work right there. Like, how does that feel?
Yeah, I think that's massive. If, like, someone, let's say if I've got two clients that are out in public and they know each other or they've seen each other, they go up to each other and they're like, oh, do you go to George? Oh, yeah, I do. We have a good barber, we get good haircuts. It's just, and if that ever comes back to me and I hear about it, it's motivating, you know. It's good, yeah, good to hear.
I saw as well that you've recently launched your new brand. Do you want to talk to me a little bit about that?
Yeah, so in September last year, I launched my barber workwear line. So at the moment, I've just got cargos that are water resistant and hair proof. So they're a polyester and nylon blend that repels hair. So it's basically the same material that we would use for a cape. But I've just got, they're made into a bit of a cargo layout with, some utility pockets and different like secret pockets as well. Just to like make the day-to-day a little bit easier. Don't want any itchy thighs and, messed up jeans. So yeah, it was just something that I really wanted to bring to the industry, especially in Australia.
And yeah, I guess the inspiration behind that, like, was it you were wearing things and you're like, oh, these, like, I'm not enjoying wearing this, I want to make my own sort of clothes?
Yeah, I would usually wear like jeans, baggy jeans and stuff, and I would just catch myself like ripping at my thighs all day, just itchy and just not really having a good time. And it kind of clouds your mind when you're trying to have an open conversation with somebody and trying to give a good service. It's just like, I can't wait to go home and take these off and just have a shower and just get these hair splinters out. So yeah, just something that I wanted to help myself and obviously can help other barbers. So just thought about doing it.
And what was the process that went into designing something like that? Like, I can't imagine, like, with the material that's in, I can't imagine it'd be easy to design something like that.
No, it's a bit unorthodox putting this material into apparel, because usually it's like for tents and barber capes and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, doing it was a bit of a headache, but it took from around this time or maybe earlier, January last year, thought of it, and it was just going back and forth with suppliers and designs and endless samples and terrible samples and decent samples. So it's just, big headache, but I'm really glad that it's launched now and I'm getting some good reviews, which is just fulfilling, just makes me feel like I'm doing the right thing, and I'm providing something to people that they can use and they appreciate.
That's awesome. And we'll get to haircuts now. So what are you seeing at the moment in terms of a popular haircut? I know, like, you mentioned mullets before. That was big forever. I still kind of got mine hanging on a little bit.
Yeah.
What are you seeing? What are you seeing at the moment?
I think, to be honest, like, mullets are just not going away. It's a big thing, especially for, like 25 and up. Mullets are like, pretty prominent. But for the teenagers and school kids and stuff, there's a haircut called a burst fade, which is like a mohawk. And people are really loving that. And every time a 13 and under or a 14 to 17 booking comes through on my calendar, I'm like, oh, I know exactly what that is.
You know what's coming?
Yeah.
So is there like one haircut that you particularly like doing and one that you're just like, I hate doing this?
The one that I like doing is probably a sort of longer length, like let's say like a gentleman's cut, where everything's about 2 inches long or longer, and it's all brushed back, and like there's no fade, it's all scissor work and detailed, because I pride myself on my scissor work and I don't get to do it too often. So when I do, I really, really try to dial in and make it as perfect as possible. So that's one that I enjoy. I don't really have a haircut that I don't like doing, but I think just skin fades in general, I do them every day, all day. Almost every client gets a skin fade. So it's like, yeah, I would love to do it because, I'm fine with doing it. I can go on autopilot, but yeah, those ones are just kind of too common at this point.
Nah, fair enough.
Yeah.
And what's the sort of, like, what do people not know about hairdressing from, like, a technical standpoint? Like, how do you approach it, and what are some of the difficulties that are posed?
That hair has a mind of its own, and there's obviously different curls and waves and hair patterns and cowlicks and everything. We get taught in barber school to cut in a certain way, and then that way can apply to a range of different hair growth patterns, but it's all about upskilling and learning how to deal with different stuff. So I think every haircut that comes in, you got to take it, like you got to really, really get that consultation down packed, because hair can do whatever it wants. You can't cut it too short in certain areas because it'll spring up, and it's a really people don't realize how technical cutting hair is. The combing and everything and the sectioning. It's a whirlwind when someone gets thrown into it without any experience. You're looking at it like, oh, damn, this is pretty insane.
And in terms of like what hair is easiest to cut and what hair is hardest to cut, is there like a variety based on like different styles of hair?
Yeah, I think the easiest hair to cut is probably like straight to wavy. Straight hair is hard because if it grows outwards and doesn't grow down, you're risking, if you cut it, it's going to spring up, because as hair gets longer, it gets heavier. So as it falls, it would lay down. But if you're cutting straight hair and it's got no more weight to it because it's shorter, it will just spring up and it would stick out everywhere. So when it's straight to wavy, there's a bit more curl and a bit more room to play with. So that's on the easier side. Curls are hard because they got, like I said, a mind of their own that can go anywhere. So yeah, afro hair, like African hair, is pretty tricky unless you get it really dialed in and you're doing it every day. Asian hair is very straight, so that's very hard, but it always looks good. Asians have such nice hair, so thick, so dense. So yeah, it depends on what you're used to really, and what you in your barber school experience, what you're mainly doing, what sort of hair.
And I guess by now you would have cut so many different people's hair that you sort of like, you're learning on the job, right?
Yeah, for sure. That's massive, learning on the job. Yeah, learning something new every day.
So with your business, how would you like to see it expand? Like what's your, I guess, end goal? Like, where do you want it to go?
The end goal, to be honest, I don't want to overdo it and have like 1 million shops or whatever. I would love to have 2 shops in like prime locations that have really skilled and technical barbers in there that can provide whatever haircut anybody wants when they walk in. I'd prefer them both to be booking based, because clients that come in and wait 3 hours, I would hate to do that to somebody. I want them to come in and just wait 5 minutes tops and just jump in and get their service done. And then in the best case scenario, those 2 shops are doing well and running themselves. I'd love to pass it on and teach as well. I'd love to just teach everything I've learned in a business standpoint, in a cutting standpoint, and everything.
Yeah, that's awesome. So say if someone's looking to get a haircut, what's the sign of a good hairdresser's and what's the sign of a bad hairdresser? Say I'm walking down the street, what should I be looking for?
Number one thing is if they're busy. If they've got, doesn't matter if there's 1 barber in there or 2 or whatever, but as long as there's someone in the chair and someone waiting, that's a good indication, because that person's not just doing a random on the street. It's someone that's sat down and someone that's probably booked in or has come in and be like, oh, I want a haircut too. And their Instagram as well. We're in the generation where social media is massive, and that's basically a billboard in itself. You just scroll down, see if you like it, see if they've got some good barbers. Yeah, that's how I would gauge it.
Hi guys, exciting news. We are once again sponsored by Hairdresser Apparel. As you can see, I'm rocking the white tee today. Comes with a really nice font on the front here, and we've also got the logo on the back. Really awesome material. You can train in it. You can wear it out to dinner. You can wear it out to lunch. It's just beautiful. We also have the grey and the green, which comes as well in the grey and the red. And my personal favourite, which I've been wearing a lot recently, is the black and the white. So if you're interested in copying one, head on down to Handraised Apparel on Instagram and buy yourself a t-shirt and a rashi. Now back to the podcast.
So yeah, you mentioned Instagram. As a barber, how should you be sort of tailoring your Instagram to get people interested?
I think all of our smartphones these days have great cameras, so I think just learning how to use it properly, getting the right angle and lighting and everything, staying up to date with your Instagram stories, showing that you got cancellations here and there, just trying to stay out there and getting people seeing your stuff as much as possible, posting consistently as well, and just taking investing in a good Instagram feed, trying to make sure that everything lines up together, it's all the same sort of theme and color scheme and everything, just so it's easy on the eyes, so people go on it and they're not like, oh, this is a bit of a cluster. It's like well placed, everything's there with intention. All the posts are posted, with intention, and it's like, okay, that was, that tile there's a nice skin fade, and the next one's, referring to a week that they're super busy, so make sure you get in early, and it's all like very informative, and it's just, it adds to you, not just like, oh wow, this is a cluster, there's so many haircuts, I just don't know where to look. Yeah.
And like, should you be, because I just find it interesting, because I'm sort of trying to learn this on the job as well with doing the podcast and everything. Mm-hmm. Like, are you posting video shorts as well, or are you going photos? Like, how do you typically approach it?
I try to do both. I post a lot of haircuts and a lot of short videos, but then I like to show how I do the haircut as well, like a very short and fast clip of the steps that I take. Not that clients would be interested, because obviously they're not going to be cutting hair unless they're a barber, but it's a bit more of an insight to the creative process, and it's a bit satisfying as well, like taking out those lines that you put in when you're doing a fade and everything. It's just satisfying and a bit easy on the eyes. It's good to watch.
And what's like barber TikTok like from your end? Like, do you follow a lot of barbers and hairdressers as well, or?
Yeah, my Instagram and TikTok, my Instagram Reels and TikTok feed is just filled with haircuts, and I just can't get away from it at this point. Yeah, it's
You're just dreaming haircuts.
Oh, at this point, yeah. And when you go out in public, I can't not look at people's haircut and imagine what they asked for or whatever. It's just, it's a bit of a nightmare sometimes. You just can't stop looking at haircuts. It's a curse.
Can you look at someone and be like if I came in, for instance, and I said, oh, can you give me the haircut that I had last time? Can you sort of work backwards and be like, all right, I know what he had?
As if you were a first timer, or if I was a
first timer, like if I didn't know you, could you be like, all right, I can kind of like roughly know what he had?
It depends on how you come in. If it's fairly grown out, then I would have to ask a bit more questions and make that, like, get it down packed and get to the bottom of it. If it's like 2 weeks old, maybe I could probably gauge it and see what you've done. But yeah, I would need to get a clearer look. I would definitely ask a few questions. I wouldn't want to try and
just
try my
shave their mullet off.
Oh yeah, imagine. Yeah. Right, who would do that, right?
Yeah, that's funny. And I've seen that you've had some like pretty high profile people come through, like a lot of athletes and stuff. How does that sort of come about?
It started with, and he's still a client to this day, and he's a really good friend of mine, Isaac Humphries, who plays for the 36ers. He walked into the shop that I was working at in Henley Beach for a short period of time, because he lived down the road. He was in a penthouse there. He walked in, and I was mid haircut, and I noticed him because obviously he's 7 foot tall. He sat down, and I was like, that guy's definitely an athlete. I need to cut this guy's hair.
Yeah.
So I made sure that I finished my client before any of the other barbers in the shop, and I said, oh, who's next? And it was only him. So he came and sat in my chair, and we had a really good convo. He ended up coming with his next appointment to my house, and he brought a basketball player called Alex Madronya, Sunday Deck, another man named Emmanuel Malou, Nick Marshall. All of these 36ers players just started coming to my house in the back shed, just getting haircuts, playing PlayStation. So it was cool with that. And then they've just always brought different people that they know. If people are coming from a different state to play in Adelaide to verse them, they would mention me and say, come along. So yeah, just all referrals. And Isaac is just like the best person ever. And he's just brought all these people, and he's just always saying, oh, we've got this new player this season. I'm going to try and get him in the shop. Like, he's just the best person ever. So it's really all down to Isaac. I've got to give him his credit.
Yeah. What's the logistics of cutting a 7 foot tall guy's hair?
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm not pumping up the chair at all. I need to get
I wouldn't have thought so.
Yeah, and he does, he helps me out a lot. He scoots down in the chair and whatever. But yeah, I'm definitely cutting above my head, trying to cut his hair. So it's pretty funny.
No, that's funny. And what do you see, like looking into the future? What do you see the future of hairdressing looking like? Is it going to change at all, like with technology, or is it always just going to be at its roots a good conversation and a good haircut?
I think if you want to last in the industry and stay within the guidelines of just normal traditional barbering and hairdressing, a good haircut and a conversation goes a long way. And to keep it simple is probably the best way to go, because if you overcomplicate it with all these different things that you want to do, it's just going to run you off your feet. And in terms of the industry, I think since 2018, when I started barbering, I was told that, from 2015 to when I started barbering, it was grown so quickly. And from 2018, from when I graduated, or 2019, until now, it has just grown so quick that the industry doesn't even know what to do with itself anymore. There's expos, 3-day expos in Melbourne, Sydney, Queensland, where there's 100,000 people coming over the span of 3 days in a massive warehouse. And it's just different barbers showcasing their talent, different companies bringing their new tools or whatever. And it's just skyrocketed to a point where I don't even know if I'm barbering anymore. I feel like it's just all these celebrities. All these barbers have got millions of followers on Instagram. It's just so crazy. So I feel like it's going in a very, very upwards trajectory.
Have you been to any of those seminars at all?
I've only been to some small scale ones. Adelaide doesn't really get too much here. We're kind of left in the shadows. But I went to one in Prospect in Adelaide, and it was a showcase of these different tools from the company JRL. They had a different range that they were releasing. And that was cool. They brought down 4 different barbers. 3 were from interstate around Australia, and 1 was from England, which was pretty cool. Just showcasing different stuff and the tools and whatever, and showing us different techniques that they can use and what the tools are good for and whatever, with all these features. So I can imagine on a larger scale, in one of those big ones, that would be insane. That would be pretty cool.
And does that interest you, like being a celebrity barber, or?
It's awesome to think about, but to be honest, I think I'm very happy with just providing a good service and making genuine connections with clients. There's a stigma around a barber thinking that they're best friends with their clients, and clients are like, "Oh, that's my barber in public. Like, don't look, because he'll come over." But I think building a genuine connection with clients is the main focus of barbering. I don't want to be. It'd be cool to travel here and there and cut celebrity clients, but I think having a good business and good people around you is really something that can just take you so far in life.
Yeah, that's true. And so you were talking about like building those relationships with people. When you first started, like how many clients were you roughly seeing a week versus how many you're probably seeing now?
It's hard to put a number on it, but from the end of 2021, when I first opened this place, my Friday and Saturday, let's say every half an hour, client, 8 hours, let's say 16 clients per day, Friday, Saturday, and then like 5 maybe on the Wednesday and Thursday. And then now having Tuesday to Saturday completely booked out and like a few weeks in advance. It's definitely grown. I can't put a number on it, but it's all about just, being genuine, not being fake, not lying to your customers, because if it comes back to you, you're just a liar. If you try to look cool in front of them, just be genuine and try to take every day as it comes. Just every client has a new story. Every client has a life, so invest in their life and then they'll appreciate that and bring their friends, and that's just how you grow.
Do you find sometimes as a barber you're almost like a therapist to people? Like, do you find people will tell you some gossip or tell you some interesting stories?
Yeah, for sure. In barber school, there was a module where a psychologist would come in and would talk to us and give us prompts and cues
You're
on
kidding?
what your client's
Really?
feeling. Yeah, because it's huge.
Wow.
Barbers are very, because we're with you for half an hour, 45 minutes, and it's man-to-man conversation, so it's free game. People are just telling you their
Yeah.
life story, their whatever happening with their relationship or whatever problems they're going through in life. So you just got to know how to take that on and give them advice, but not be too invasive as well, and not ask too many invasive questions. Just try and keep it surface level, but with a bit of compassion. Be just comforting, make sure they're feeling all right. But with our problems, we've got to leave them at the door because we don't want to trauma dump on people or anything like that. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, it's all about
Wait,
just.
so what did the psychologist say when they came in? Like, that's unbelievable to me. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, it was, to be honest, when they said, oh, for this next module, for the next 3 weeks, we're going to have this person come in every Friday and give you a seminar on how to, blah, blah, blah. It was more so seeing cues about people, the right responses to what they would say. Like, it's all hypotheticals. But yeah, their body language, all that sort of stuff, how they would come in through the door, eye contact, all that sort of stuff. It was a lot of information.
That's super interesting. Yeah, wow. So, do you ever see someone come in and they might be in a bad mood, and then when they leave, they're in a good mood? Is that something that you talk to them and try to increase their day a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. You get people that come in that might have had a bad morning or had a bad run of days or whatever, and you give them a haircut. You have a really good conversation, and hopefully that is the thing of it. Maybe the last few days they're just looking at their hair and they're like, oh, I just need a haircut so bad or whatever. If it's something that's happening in their life, you just try and give them loose, very vague advice about whatever you think. Try not to give them too much advice where they would be overwhelmed or whatever. But yeah, seeing a client get up and feel good about themselves and have that smile back on their face is just the best feeling in the world.
So you try not to give them life-changing advice. Don't tell them to invest in stocks or anything like that.
Nah, no way. No crypto advice from me. No financial advice.
Try to sell them a coin or something.
Cove Aircoin coming soon.
Yeah. So do you ever get people come in before a really big event? Do you ever get people come in before their wedding, for instance? Is that something you see?
Yeah, we provide a wedding groomsman package. So we have we schedule out a certain amount of hours and they bring the whole wedding party. And it is a very, very upbeat, fun experience for them. But for us barbers, it's very, very scary because you don't want to ruin any haircut. It needs to be perfect. As well as contribute to the conversation and be jolly and be like, oh, you're getting married today or you're getting married tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I was going to say, is there any haircut that is, has the most pressure on you to get it right?
Yeah, it would have to be situational. There has to be an event coming up or something. Most haircuts are pretty cruisy at the moment, just given my experience, but it's the event that they're hanging for, that they need this haircut for. Yeah, it's pretty scary sometimes.
No, I can imagine.